It is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. Looking out the window at Defiance, it's a bright, beautiful day, but it is warm and humid, and I think it's going to be that way all day today with temps in the 90s. We'll get a break next week with, I think, temps in the low to mid 70s and much cooler temperatures at night and lower humidity, which I'm looking forward to. The devotion for today is entitled Not the Confession, written by Mary Ludy. Mary bases the devotion upon adapted verses from Matthew chapter 14, verses 25 through 27. Before dawn, Jesus went to them, walking on the lake. His disciples were terrified. "It's a ghost," they cried. But Jesus said, "It is I. Don't be afraid." And then Mary writes, after feeding the multitudes, Jesus instructs his friends to sail back across the lake to meet them later. They assume he'll walk home or hitch a ride. So when a strange thing approaches them on the water, they think, "Oh, right, that's Jesus." They don't think, "Oh, right, that's Jesus." They think, "Oh, Jesus, that's a ghost." Panic ensues until they realize it's him. We can be like that. Something unfamiliar comes along and we assume it's going to be dreadful and get all lathered up. But if we take a breath, give it the benefit of the doubt and a little time, we might save ourselves a boatload of emotional energy. A colleague was 6 months into a new pastorate when the moderator stopped by to discuss a worship change she proposed, adding a confession to the Sunday service. The previous pastor had found confession depressing and axed it. They hadn't had one in 26 years. If she introduced it, the moderator warned, people would revolt and he'd leave. She said, not unkindly, "I hope you find a church that gives you life." He was apoplectic, but he backed himself into a corner. He left. 4 months later, he was back. He missed his church, so he tolerated the confession. Years later, she retired. He chaired the search for a replacement. A candidate asked if the congregation was open to change. "Change anything you want," he replied, "but not the confession. It means a lot to us here." The unfamiliar thing upsetting you? Relax. It may not be a ghost coming to kill you. It could be Jesus coming to save. And Mary's prayer. Ease my panic about the unknown, Jesus, at least long enough to discover if it's you. Amen. A couple thoughts that came to mind as I was reading this was our resistance to change. And sometimes we resist change that would actually make our lives better, or we may actually like something. And I had to chuckle at the story that Mary shared because I had a similar one, although not specifically about worship, but in my own church, we had a hallway that had tile, and the ground had shifted underneath the foundation, and so there was a little heave in the concrete that was below the tile, and so we paid to have someone come and level it out as best they could, and then we decided to put in industrial carpet squares, which they had at the local hospital. And there were so many people like, "Oh no, carpet's going to be awful. It's going to be hard to keep clean. It's going to be hard to whatever. We shouldn't do it." But we did it anyway. And then the very same people who were so against it were like, "Well, this is really nice because it quieted down the hallway. It was really easy to vacuum. It is industrial carpet, so it's very easy to clean. And if something gets stained or torn, or damaged, you can pull the one tile up and replace it with another tile. And so it's very, very convenient." But people didn't know that until they tried it. And that's often the case. I guess in my ministry, I often feel like it's better to ask for forgiveness than for ask for permission, because if you ask for permission, a lot of times people don't think they want something. But if you just introduce it, there's maybe some grumbling, and then eventually there's joy. So in your own life, if there's something you're facing and you're not sure of and you find yourself resisting it just because it's unknown, take a breath, say a prayer. You might discover that it's something that you really needed all along, just like Jesus. Hope you have a good day, and hope to talk to you again